my group together, which was my boyfriend, who he's an environmentalist, but he doesn't like to be in the thick of nature. He hates water, he hates swimming, he doesn't like boating, he gets mad if someone throws water at him, he freaks out. And then we also brought my friend Brian, and both those guys I know through improv comedy. So we got this small group together. All four of us went to a place called Chippewa Landing in Michigan. And we decided to go there because you can drink in Michigan and you can't drink at other state campsites. But what I found out there was their main draw was canoeing. When we arrived, it was like really beautiful, and there was lots of tall fir trees, and I love fir trees because that is what Oregon looks like. There is no other kind of tree except for tall Douglas fir, and that's what a forest looks like to me. So when we get there, it's beautiful, and we're having all this fun, and we realize by the second day there are no hiking trails, and the only thing that you can do is to go boating. Well, my boyfriend hates the idea of boating. He's only been once, and he was told that he went with his two best girlfriends who had no idea about camping. And he was told that he didn't have to do anything but sit in the boat and hang out. So he was very against the idea of going boating. Well, me, I grew up on the water. And when I was a little kid, my mom used to say that she had to keep me in overalls because I would try to jump out of the boat, and that was a way to catch me. Even though I wasn't very good at swimming, she used to call me her little fish. Anyway, side note. So I love the water. I love fishing, and I was totally fine with it. Brian was totally fine with it. Alan was like, you know, it's their main thing. It's how they make their money. We should definitely get a boat and just go. So we all kind of waited for Kevin to get his act together and decide that he would want to go canoeing. And eventually he decided, okay, let's go canoeing. So we rented a canoe. We had to get 2 canoes because you can sit 2 people in a canoe. And then what they do is they wait for several groups to get together. They pile them all in a van and then drive them however far you want to go. So if you want to take a trip for like 2 hours, they'll drive you 3 miles up the river and drop you out with the boats and with the paddles. So we decided, you know, 2 hours is enough, especially for a very beginner canoeer. Probably not a good idea to send him out all day because he may break up. So we drove out there with 2 other groups. One of the groups was like people our age, kind of laid back people. I think they were from Wisconsin, and then the other group was this giant group. And forgive me for saying so, but they were very white trash. They all were 3 sheets to the wind, and they had a bunch of little children with them, none of who had life jackets on, just water wings, which I'm sorry, if those get popped, there goes the baby. And they were going to go down the river ahead of us. We were trying to distance ourselves from them, so I said to the guys dropping off the boats, maybe we could wait a few seconds and go after them. Brian and I have been canoeing many times before, but Kevin and Alan had never been before, so we wanted to keep them comfortable. But we couldn't. They said, oh, don't worry, you guys are going to pass them, it'll be fine. We can hear them shouting, they have drunk teenagers with them, they've got beers in the boat, and they all continue to drink as they're going down the river. So we get in behind them. I say, you know what, let me sit in the back because I know how to steer the canoe. Kevin says that's fine. He gets in the front, sits down. And we are kind of a little bit behind the massive party group. And they're screaming and shouting and, you know, throwing cans in the river, and my little Oregonian heart is dying as I see this. So anyway, we get a little further down the river. There's a guy in their group in a kayak going the wrong way, and there's a very narrow opening between two trees that have fallen. And I'm thinking, why doesn't this guy get the hell out of the way? And Kevin doesn't realize the severity of the situation, because somebody's going to careen with somebody. Possibly the canoe could tip. So I try to kind of, you know, paddle with the oar and steer so that we don't careen with him. We get through, but then our boat is backwards because this asshole wouldn't let us through. So then we finally get the boat back right. The guy's laughing at us. We decide we need to get around the group of white trash family members. And one of them, who is an adult, decides it's hilarious to get the dipstick that they have and squirt me in the face with water. I'm so mad that they squirted me in the face, but really happy they didn't squirt Kevin, because he would have freaked out. So we get around them, everything's cool, we calm down. Kevin actually starts to enjoy himself. I'm really excited about that. We see a turtle on the side of the bank, and he gets really excited. And Alan and Brian saw a fish jump. We had a few little mishaps, but nothing really serious. They got stuck on a log, but they were able to rock themselves off. And I'm a pretty good canoeer, and Kevin was like, wow, you really are a nature enthusiast, because there were a few times that I really steered the boat in the right direction. If you want to turn the boat, it's kind of opposite. If you want to turn the boat right, you row on the left, and if you want to turn the boat left, you row on the right. And don't row on the same side, because you turn it in a circle. And the other main rule about canoeing, if you've ever been canoeing, is do not stand ever in a canoe, or it will tip. So we continue down the river. It's like really nice, bright, sunny day. We're making all these jokes about pure Michigan, like Tim Allen, and we, keep pointing things out, and it's going. And then the river sort of starts to pick up, and I noticed that in the midst of us yelling back and forth to Brian and Alan, the boat is starting to rock from side to side. And I'm like, Kevin, what's going on? And he's like, oh, I have to go to the bathroom. And I was like, oh, well, let's pull over the boat and you can go. So I keep trying to get his attention to pull the boat over, but when you're boating and the river is fast, you need to react quickly, otherwise you don't have time to stop. And Kevin has ADD pretty bad, so he gets distracted really easily. So we try to pull the boat over, and then by the time we realize he needs to do that, we're off to another turn. And I'm doing a lot of the rowing myself because he doesn't really know how to steer, and I'm trying to tell him when he needs to do things, but he really doesn't understand how to steer the boat, keeps putting the oar on the wrong side, so I keep trying to oversteer the boat when he messes up. So anyway, we hit a point where the boat is just rocking back and forth, and I was like, what the hell are you doing? You're going to tip this canoe. And he's like, I can't help it, I really have to go, I have to go. And he starts panicking, I really have to pee, I have to go right now. And I'm like, I'm trying to calm him down, but I finally just said, if you do not stop fucking rocking the boat, it is going to tip and you will be in the water. There's no question about it. You will be in the water. He's like, I can't handle it, all this stuff. So I'm like, and Brian and Alan are kind of behind us, and they realize what's going on, but they don't realize the severity of the situation. And he's like, Kara, I'm gonna pee myself. So what happens is I try to row to an embankment, and then he drops the oars, luckily, into the boat, stands up, rips open his pants, starts peeing up into the air so it arches out of the boat. We slam into the embankment. He's still peeing. We I'm like, Kevin, you have to help me steady the boat. What the fuck? Sit down, sit down, sit down. You're gonna tip the boat, you're gonna tip the boat. He doesn't sit down. I'm screaming at him. Alan and Brian are hysterically laughing. He finally sits down. We slam into a fallen tree. And I'm like, Kevin, we are gonna tip the boat. Is your dick back in your pants? And he says, no, hang on. And then he finally gets it all together, and he's like breathing. I'm like, you have to regain your ability to help me because the boat will tip. We finally push off the fallen tree, get the boat out from under there, and we're going backwards down the river. He's like, whoo, we're finally out of the woods. And then we're going backwards down the river. I'm like, no, we're still in the woods. In fact, we're in the middle of a river on a boat going backwards. So I turn it rights itself. And then we see a sign that says 15 minutes to campground. Oh, last thing. We both looked down after all the chaos and noticed that our two pops that were in the